we're going to be tiny most of this stream because we're going to be sharing stuff, and we're officially live. And look at that, Facebook connected.
Yay!
They've been patching things, so I had a feeling that this
would that's probably, good. No.
Probably get easier.
When I had to do the show last week, I was like, the only thing I'm scared of is I know Facebook's going to be a brat. So,
because it is a brat. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves while I go through all of Facebook. I'm going to fix it. Yeah, it just disconnected. Okay. All right, I'm going to go through and do some tech changes real fast. You guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. You brat, Facebook, I hate you.
Oh, me. Okay. Hey guys, it's Jinx Cosplay, based in Arizona. Been cosplaying since 2001. Apologies if I sound or look different. I'm still like in the process of moving, but I am in my brand new workspace. Woo! So you can see behind me, there's still some stuff going on. And yeah, so hi. Hey, Cool Gamer. Thanks for joining us. And then next is...
Hi, I'm Chibi Raincloud, from the Pacific Northwest area. I'm just really tired today, so I threw on Nerd from Boyfriends, which is my current favorite manhwa. So I figured this was like the easiest cosplay I could throw on for the day, because today's my relaxing day. I didn't do anything, but I'm excited. This topic's very near and dear to my heart because I've never been to a convention out of a costume before. I've never done it in all the years I've been doing this for over like 17 years, something like that. I've been doing this for entirely too long, and I've never not been at a con in a cosplay. So I don't know what it's like outside of it.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm cheating myself if I don't go and cosplay.
Even if it's like a chill, like this kind of cosplay, I'm still like repping the cosplay stuff when I'm at a convention. I just don't know. I feel so naked because even like pre-reg, I'm like, I have to at least throw a wig on. I just can't show up at the convention building without anything on me.
Yeah, I do like have to have something geeky or some casual cosplay for, you know, those times that I just can't. And even when I pack my cosplays, well, we'll talk about this later, but I do pack backup like closet cosplays or, you know, bounds or whatever. But yeah, how are we doing there, Sam? We good? We connected?
We're connected. I think what I'm going to do from now on is only add Facebook about 10 minutes before. So I'm reading that like there's some kind of issue with their sync between. So we'll just do that in the future. But hi everyone, Sam from Thermal Cosplay here. I am also not in cosplay today, but that's just because I've been fighting a legal battle to get my car back, and I won it today. So I have my car, and just word of advice: if you're ever trying to work with insurance, there's this website called United Policyholders of America, and it has every single policy law associated with your state, and that's maybe what I did to my insurance to tell them that they were in violation of the law.
All right, you guys didn't know that we're having a life lesson.
Yeah, I gotta save everyone's life here, okay? Cosplayers. I mean, this policy thing could help many people here. We don't know.
I don't doubt it.
I mean, maybe you've got your costumes insured, right?
One day.
Anyways,
only in travel.
Yeah, that's actually one thing we do advise. If you're shipping a costume, insure the snot out of it. All right, yeah. So Sam Thermal Cosplay here. If you don't know me, I've been cosplaying since 2014, so I'm about to hit my 10-year cosplay experience, and I have cosplayed. I have attended a convention outside of cosplay because I started attending conventions as a comic book artist and sold my comics. So yeah. So today, like we said, we're talking about what it's like to attend conventions in a costume, things you may not consider when you're attending, or things you may consider. One thing, the first thing I like to talk about before we even get into like what you should wear is what's the weather going to be like, because the weather really can dictate what you choose to wear. For instance, I have this little photo from UbuCon last year, and I feel like our faces say it all right here. We were trying to take photos outside, but unfortunately the time of day when we were able to take these photos was rather warm, and I feel like this just says it all right here. We're just like, well, it could be worse.
I mean, for you, Sam, it's normal. Right.
For me, it was hard. I was panicking for like the week before I left to Arizona. What do I pack? What do I pack? What am I supposed to bring with me? Because I don't know what to wear. So like, yeah, but on the flip side of that, like I'm from Washington, so like rain all the time every day. So like Washington cosplayers are super used to it. We like waterproof our costumes sometimes just to be like, we know it's gonna happen. So if by chance this convention might have multiple buildings, if you have to go between a hotel and a convention place, or like in Seattle, we have 2 different convention buildings, know that you might be outside in the weather and be prepared for that. Umbrellas are great.
So people that don't know, October in Arizona it can still be pretty hot. Like today was actually like I stepped outside, it was like 75 degrees. And it's like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. But then like in the middle of the day, it got pretty warm, right? So even though in other parts of the world it's a normal temperature, in Arizona sometimes it's still pretty hot. Like it was great for us like, locals, but anyone coming from out of state, if you're not from like, you know, the surrounding states, you're going to find it to be a little bit of a shock that it's still pretty warm. So
I think the hardest thing for me was like the buildings would be like in the 50s and 60s, and then going outside would be like 100. And so it was like a lot of whiplash. And then same with like the evenings. Like I wore a costume that I was comfortable wearing through the entire day. But then as soon as that nighttime hit, that temperature dropped to like 40. I was like, oh shit, it's actually like really freaking cold. And so I was really cold in the night.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about that where like when this was from Sakura Con and when we were inside, it was really warm, right? And I was happy. But when I went outside, I forgot that Seattle's really cold. And even though I was wearing thick dance tights on my arms and my legs, and I had double silicone covers on my boobs, I was dying. And I managed to live out there for like an hour, and then I like gave Chibi the most like pitiful expression, and I think Chibi's like, "Let's go inside." I'm like, "Yes, thank you."
yeah, so
We got a
Thermo's
couple great
a
pictures.
lizard. We always say that Thermo's a lizard, so she survives very, very well in the Arizona desert. However, if it goes like below 75, it's like you'll freeze her out. So
I'm
I
already
found,
wearing sweaters indoors at 80.
yeah, I found it to be quite refreshing up there in Seattle. I overheat in general, but I thought it was nice and refreshing being outside. And once you got out there, you know, you get used to it. But Thermo doesn't get used to it. She does not get
That's
used
so
to it.
Yeah, keeping in mind the weather and if you're changing locations or moving between buildings, just to keep yourself and your costume safe, especially if you're doing body paint, as I've also been that person. I was so excited the first time Sam got to do Sakura. No, it was Emerald City. We decided to do a body paint piece for my Kirishima, and we decided to do water paints because our airbrush died, and then it rained. Water-based paints will just very much come off you in the rain. So it was very interesting traveling between each of the buildings to try to make sure I was safe and I wouldn't melt.
Now, on the other hand, water-based body paint can also be very bad in places like Arizona because we sweat a lot and I sweat a lot. And I've, you know, learned that I really can't be using water-based body paint anymore. So on the flip side, even though it might not rain, if you tend to sweat a lot, it will come off your skin, no matter how much you set it. So
That's
my
one thing.
2 cents.
That's number one. When you're wearing costumes to convention, consider the weather. Consider, you know, if you don't mind wearing something a little bit heavier, then think about, for instance, Novaruin Cosplay is my younger brother. He wears power armor. So what he does is some of us will carry part of his costume and he'll carry the rest. And he's kind of created a way where like a lot of it can just fit inside his armor. And if we can, we'll walk through security with it, or what we'll do is we'll park somewhere where it's only maybe a 5-minute walk, and I get like Game on Expo, I got him dressed at his car. And then I walked him, or maybe it's Phoenix Fan Fusion, he got him dressed at his car and then walked him to the convention center. So think about maybe ways you can store your costume and bring it in with you. Some conventions are starting to create storage pods that are air conditioned so that you have places to store items. Or for instance, Emerald City Comic Con is a place where they have a coat check area so you can store things and take them off and on. So always, like if you want to bring a big backpack and have your entire costume there, a lot of conventions now have cosplay changing areas. So you can go change into your costume and then leave it at a coat check or a storage pod and you're good. So maybe you can wear whatever you want to because the weather isn't going to be that much of a problem since you'll be inside. Just be aware if you have photo shoots, to be mindful of locations and where you can capture those images.
And I think Tucson Comic Con had, well, this was more for like the guests and stuff, but they had like areas where you could leave your costumes. Obviously, like they can't keep things supervised the whole time, but a lot of times, you know, if you're within the staff or the other guest area, it's usually okay. UwuCon actually, the location that UwuCon is held at, Legacy Park in East Mesa, is a sports complex, and they actually have lockers. I don't think a lot of people knew this last year, but you could actually use the lockers because you just bring like your own lock. So
Which is
you
super
know,
cool.
like investigate where you're going if they do have lockers or coat checks. Like sometimes it's easier that way. I know people will leave stuff in their cars, if luckily you're nearby, but you know, just check and see if there's a place you can store your extra clothes or extra costumes.
And I think that kind of leads into like, if you've never been to the building before, do some research. Because are there escalators? Are there elevators? Do you need accommodations? Can you get accommodations? Are there lots of staircases? If so, maybe stilettos aren't for you. Just getting to know your area. I always warn people if they're coming to Seattle, it rains and we have hills. Like, there's nowhere in the city that you would walk where there wouldn't be a hill. Like, it's everywhere. It's all over the place. You're going to get hills. So like, if you're not used to walking up and down hills, then be prepared. And especially in the rain, know what kind of shoes you're wearing, because we have a lot of rain. And I mean like full flooding styled rain, not just like a sprinkling, which can, I've had wet feet at cons before because sometimes I'm like, screw it, I'm going to be as accurate as possible, which is not a good choice of shoe in the rain. And I have to run between both the buildings. So always just keep in mind like what you're wearing for shoes. Bring an extra pair of shoes with you if you're going to do a lot of walking. And if you think there's going to be stairs and stuff that might give you issues, bring that extra pair of slip-ons that you can flip on real quick and then like run up the staircase. Or if you get too tired, you can switch shoes halfway through the day.
Yeah, the three things I'd say you should always have in your convention kit is a small umbrella, a plastic bag that like it folds out really large but folds down, like you can pull it, make it big or really small, and then some kind of really miniature repair kit or replacement shoes. Because sometimes at the end of the day you're just like, give me flip flops. I need
Like
to
a
be
pair
free.
of flats. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to be dedicated, you can find a pair of flats or other comfortable pair of shoes that go with your character. I mean, if your character were to wear sneakers, what kind of sneakers would they wear? I don't know. This is what I kind of try to do too. And then sometimes I just give up and I just bring flip-flops. And sometimes I'm so grateful for that. I think there was at Game On Expo, I think the three of us, you, me, and Lena had these pair of like slides and I used them and Sam used them. And I was like, I need to get me a pair of these because it was like a lifesaver. I was like, I can't walk anymore, guys. So
Don't be me.
Put those slides on and I was able to walk to my car, no problem.
I never follow my own advice. And like, so I went to a picnic this last weekend and I'm like, it's a park. It's going to be totally fine. I'm just going to wear my pretty heels because we're going to be taking pictures. It'll be fine. Well, it turns out this park was like full gravel, like up and down hills. And like,
Wow.
I didn't look the location up. I just thought that it was pretty. And so I was just like, cool, I'll just go. And so I ended up hiking, rock climbing, and jumping over a creek all in my heel boots. And I'm very proud of myself to know I still am skilled enough to do these things, but I'm also not in my early 20s anymore. So I'm like, that I should have thought twice, but I didn't. And I hurt really bad, and it's like 4 days later. So I wish I had brought extra shoes with me.
I think we always do that, right? Like we have these great ideas and this great advice, and then like we never ever think to like follow
I
it
brought my
ourselves.
emergency kit. I brought food. I brought extra water. I haven't had like a blanket for the ground because the ground was still wet, but I didn't bring extra shoes.
Yeah. I
And
always try
also
and bring
like
shoes.
prepare for the, that's why like I'm starting to create like a little go bag when I travel, because when I didn't have my car, all the things I kept in my car for events, for emergencies, were suddenly gone, and I'd forgotten I was no longer in that vehicle. So now I've decided maybe I should keep it in a bag that like I keep right next to my suitcase, and then I know I just attach it to the suitcase and it goes with me anywhere I head out. And it has like a refillable water bottle and a small repair kit, some just really simple things, and a pair of flats that I really only wear when I'm exhausted at cons because I don't necessarily like wearing them anywhere else because I don't like people knowing I have tiny feet. But like,
You're not even that small, Sam. Like I fit into your shoes.
But that's the thing is Sam is like 5'11".
I'm almost
like,
5'10", yeah. And everyone fits in my shoes, and
I borrowed Sam's
everyone's
shoes.
gloves are
That's
too
crazy.
big for me.
Yeah.
So-
Raul says, I'm starting to bring extra stuff like shoes because I wore boots once and I couldn't keep wearing for too long. Also, you can seriously get injured by wearing shoes too long. You know, you can have back issues. I mean, you can get like broken toes, and then you can also really just get really grumpy. So save your back and injuries and, you know, relationships with your friends and bring a pair of flats.
Also, since we're talking about shoes, make sure you break in your shoes before you wear them. If you don't break them in, things that you can do to prevent yourself from being hurt is buying silicone socks that go around your toes so that they won't rub, getting some kind of gel, or they have like latex kind of a paste that you can put on the back of your heels and your ankles to prevent it from rubbing and chafing.
You can also,
if you're
like,
allergic to that,
or the same thing. Like if you go to like even like Target or your like local Walmart or something, like there's a little small section that has like foot protectors, and like there's gonna be like they're like stickers or band-aids that you can use.
Yeah, and they work really well. If you have a latex allergy, they do also offer silicone versions of the foot protector, and all of it's really useful. So I recommend that because I know that sometimes like you order a custom pair of shoes or a custom set of boots for costumes, and sometimes it takes forever for it to arrive, and then you can't break them in, right? So that's where you use those foot protectors and things so that at least you won't have any blisters. Like the shoes might be a little tight, but usually that's the part that breaks the fastest is the tightness. It usually wears out the fastest. It's where you haven't completely, it's the edges and usually the seams in the back and sides that you might have the most trouble with. So those foot protectors are even good if you have broken in your shoes. What people don't consider a lot of the times at conventions, you're on your feet for probably 8 to 12 hours a day. I mean, nonstop. Like you're very rarely taking a seat. So remember that your shoes will probably affect you more because of the amount of time that you're wearing them and the amount of chafing and friction they're exposed to.
For cosplayers, we've gotten to the point where like we can make like ugly looking shoes into like the badass shoes that we want for our costumes. So like my base for like a lot of my boots and like the costume shoes that I'm making are usually just like slip-ons. Like my D-lit shoes are super comfortable because they're just flats in those boots, like super cozy flats. A lot of the times if I do have a shoe that I'm like, okay, I need a heel or I have to build on top of it or it's going to be thigh highs, I'll make a comfortable pair of shoes that I already know fit me and that are comfortable. And then I will add it onto that shoe as a base. So then I know I won't be hurting nearly as bad at the end of the day.
Yeah, and also a lot of these cosplay shoes, like, you know, that you find on like Whoa and all these other cosplay websites, they're made to look like the character, but they're not very comfortable. So you could also, you know, like we mentioned, like buying insoles to put into those kinds of cosplay shoes, because I bought a pair of Tifa boots and they have like no support whatsoever. They look awesome. They look just like Tifa's boots and I love them. So I would advise you, if you have a little bit more planning, is to buy your shoe in like a half a size larger and then get a really nice insole to go in it. Ferret LX1X, I don't know what that is in Roman numerals, if you guys can tell me, on Twitch says good evening. And Anthony says from Facebook, hello ladies, love the neon lights thermo. Yeah, a lot of on this time. Good job.
A lot of my shoes, I don't know if I have any pictures of shoes outside of those. Like I built those ones. Those are for Deuce. I was really excited that they were just flats. I don't know if I have D-Lit's pictures because D-Lit's shoes. So those are the shoes that I hiked in this weekend, by the way. Those are the ones I did it in. Those are my favorite.
That's dedication right there. Great job.
I wanted to look attractive as we look shen.
Yeah, sometimes we want to commit way too much. Another thing though is like, and I know people like get really iffy about this, but it's like if you buy so I like to make shoes too, so I'll buy shoes at Goodwill, find something that looks similar, maybe alter them. And I know some people get really iffy about that. You can always sanitize the shoes, but those are kind of like broken in already. Yes, like they're not formed to your feet, but they are at least broken in. So sometimes that helps as well. What a cute little twirl.
Yeah, so those are just boot slips that I made over
oh my gosh, my legs just turned off.
I think on top, like that's a good transition to cosplayers. Ugh, are you okay, Chase? If this is maybe your first time wearing a large costume at a convention, bringing a backup set of clothing is not a bad idea. I know even like us, we tend to do that. I know Sam changed out of card like halfway through the day. Oh my God. When we were at UWU. And so like if you're not entirely sure if you can wear a costume for an entire day, it might be a good idea to actually bring something with you to change into, even if it's just like a sweatshirt or a dress you can throw on or just something to like help you feel better. Do it.
Hi.
Are you okay?
Guys, I think that Jinx is broken.
Okay.
But yeah, no,
So
I agree with you on the changing thing. For instance, I'm going to YumaCon this weekend in Yuma, Arizona, and I'm actually going to bring 3 costumes because it's probably going to be 100 degrees, and I want to swap costumes before I have to judge the masquerade. I don't want to be all a sweaty mess in the costume. So think about events you're going to attend. If you're going to be an MC somewhere, do you want to change your costume because you could potentially have like sweat marks on your shirt or your pants or your like something somewhere in your costume? Always consider bringing a costume, but that also means when you're going to an event and you're going to change, you need to think about the makeup and the wig. Like, is this a character that then requires a change in the wig? Can they use the same style of makeup? Always try to plan it that way too, so that it's not too jarring when you switch characters.
I will always remember this one time. I love her to death. She's one of our locals. I'm not going to call her out because she probably doesn't want anyone to know this. But during the competition, she literally changed like under the table into a new costume while we were like doing our stage stuff because she was in like a big, I want to say it was League of Legends or something. Like she was in a big costume and she had just hit her limit like during the cosplay competition. So she'd stripped down to like the easiest version of that costume. And so like at the end of the night, I was like, wait a second, weren't you in somebody else like 20 minutes ago? And she's like, yeah, I gave up. I was like, I mean, that is genius and nobody caught it. Like I only knew it because I talked to her after the convention, but I was just like, oh geez, like you like noped out like right at the peak point. So always bring something comfortable to change into.
yeah, sorry guys. In my new apartment, for some reason, my work room, the lights go on and off. I don't know. It's on a remote, so that's why I had to find the light switch. And then yeah, all chaos. But I'm okay, Anthony. Thank you for asking. And while I'm here, a couple comments. Jinx, since you cosplay as Ada Wong from Remake Resident Evil 4, just to let you know that Separate Ways came out the day before my birthday. I did see that. That would be, if I have time, I'd love to play it. Raul says, have fun over there in YumaCon. I do want to make YumaCon at some point, but I know that you really enjoy it, Thermo, so I know you'll have a good time, yeah? I think so. Oh, no?
There, now it's unmuting. Okay. Like, yeah, no. So now that we kind of talked about like weather, shoes, costume. Another thing you'll want to consider. So I'm gonna bring up the picture of Purotess and Deedlit again because Purotess, I don't wear all white costumes. I live in a desert. It doesn't make sense. But in Seattle, it seemed to be a little bit safer of a bet. But then I realized it's always wet, and so I couldn't sit anywhere. So I made this crazy decision that I was like, you know what? I'm going to Scotch guard this entire costume. And I Scotch guarded the entire costume. As a matter of fact, nothing stayed on this costume. Like I actually dropped tea on this and I wiped it and it just rolled right off. Like it couldn't, it waterproofed the crap out of the costume. And like nothing could get absorbed. But it worked really well for protecting white. So if there's something that you are afraid of it's staining and it's a type of fabric that stains just absorb and it's very difficult to remove, I recommend looking at waterproofing it or sealing it with something that's flexible so that you don't have to worry about what if the person that sat in this last chair didn't seal their body paint and I'm about to sit in it. You know, you don't have to be concerned about those things.
That is a weird thing to be concerned about, though, isn't it? As a cosplayer, like,
but it's happened to me before where I sat in somebody's body paint and it stained my costume.
I know. It's just Weird thing to hear.
Word of warning, like if you are wearing a costume you can get on other people, please keep yourself in mind. Maybe bring a towel to sit on. But I was gonna say if it's too late and you've already worn the white to a con and it's gotten stuff on it, believe me, I'm one of those people. To be perfectly honest, the two things that I do to actually get stuff out of fabric, I don't know, this is more of like an American thing, so if you're in a different country you might not have it, but grandma's spot out, like you can get it at Joann's, it's like grandma's cleaner, like that stuff will get anything out. And Dawn dish soap. And I'm not even kidding. Like Dawn dish soap will take any stain out, especially grease-based stains. I got this beautiful Long Wan G costume and he's all white and I hate white costumes. I always end up with them. But like I got this beautiful Long Wan G and I got it super cheap because the cosplayer who sold it to me felt bad because there was stains on it. But I was like, oh, no. I will take it a heartbeat because I will get that sparkling white. And that's what I did. Everything that could be washed in the washer, I put it in the washer with Dawn dish soap instead of normal laundry soap. Came out beautifully white. This is also a trick for anybody who wants whiter clothing, but you don't want to put like bleach in it or anything. Dawn dish soap does the same thing. And then for the pieces that I couldn't throw in the wash, I made a little mixture of a little bit of water with Dawn dish soap, and I took a toothbrush. That vest also used to be covered in blood and red makeup, and I also took it out with Dawn dish soap. But yeah, you just take like a toothbrush or a brush or something, and then you just scrub it into that one particular spot and then just saturate it with water. And I usually use just like a paper towel to kind of like wipe it down as you go. And you'll get probably about 90%, if not all of the stain out of the piece itself. Of course, it matters on the fabric and how long the stain has been there. But the first time I wore this vest, I was mangled from Five Nights at Freddy's and I was covered in fake blood and makeup. I don't know what my mother did until I was older and asked her, but she just soaked it in Dawn dish soap and scrubbed the hell out of it. And now I've used it for Kirishima and other costumes, and it's still mostly white. So I'm a believer. Like, and this works for any color. It's just white's the hardest one to get stuff out of. So
Yeah, and if you have something like if you've got a stretch kind of like a lame or a vinyl or a pleather or any kind of leather, I recommend upholstery wipes. So if you wipe everything down with upholstery wipe and then you use a Lysol spray, Lysol fabric disinfectant spray, that will get it clean from the smell or any bacteria that might be lingering. And then the upholstery wipe itself takes away any of the stains or the dirt or grime that might be lingering, because it's a little difficult with fabrics that are not natural fibers or aren't based off of the same woven. Like polyester is pretty easy to clean because it's similar to how natural fibers are woven, like it behaves similarly, and you can go in a higher heat, which helps remove a little bit more, but you can't do that with some of those really unusual fabrics that have like special prints or stuff. So that's where you'd want to stick to upholstery wipes, and they're pretty useful. I mean, upholstery wipes are used to clean furniture, which can't go in a washing machine, and it works. So, like that's, if you have a stain, that's a way to go too.
And note to new cosplayers, learn your fabrics and what things can be washed and what things can't be washed. It's very depressing when you throw something in a washer and it gets destroyed. So just if you're unsure if a piece can handle hot water, wash it in cold. If you're unsure if it can handle the dryer, just hang dry it. Not all websites are going to be nice and give you a washing instruction. Sometimes you just have to guess. That's why I do a lot of hand washing with Dawn dish soap, or even like a laundry soap. With my wigs, I usually just use like a shampoo or a laundry soap because it is plastic. But just keeping those little things in mind, like if you're unsure how a fabric might behave, ask your friends and see if you can like guess what kind of fabric it is, and then go online and go, okay, well, I think this is a rayon. So Google what's the best way to clean that fabric and go with whatever the recommendation is.
I agree. Now, once you've kind of figured out how to care for your costume, you're ready to attend regardless of what risks you're taking. There's some other things that you'll want to consider. So I went to Salt Lake Fan X, what was it, 2 weekends ago now. And it was a new convention for me. So I did all my due diligence. I checked the maps. I checked rest areas, local restaurants. I checked to see how long the walk was going to be and what the weather was going to be. But for some reason, the weather forecast turned on me, and while I was walking there, I got soaked in rain. But thankfully, like, it was only a 5-minute walk, so 10-minute walks. By the time I ended there, with the number of bodies in the room, I dried out really fast. But the thing I didn't consider was I'm used to the etiquette in my state, right? And I'm used to the etiquette in the other states that I've traveled to, which thankfully are pretty similar when it comes to handling lines, when it comes to navigating artist alley or vendor areas. People are usually very respectful. They have walking lanes. They know not to go certain directions and all of those rules. They also know not to touch anybody without permission. That did not happen at Salt Lake. So the one thing you'll want to think about too is the convention you're going to. Are you familiar with it? Are there people that you can talk to that have attended in costume? What did they experience? What are their pros and what are their cons of that event? Really researching outside of just what's on the website for the site and actually talking to the community, going on Facebook or Instagram or finding a community or finding local friends that you know that have gone, or even reaching out to the convention coordinator and asking them if there's something that you should be cautious about. Just getting that information is important, because I had a lot of people telling me it was a wonderful con and they said that they never had any trouble, but I didn't realize that most of these people I'm talking to were only like, they wore big ball gowns and they wore like really pretty dresses and princess things that most people seem to be like kind of go around because they take so much space, right? When I went, people were tugging on my laku and saying, I got your laku, or I got your tails. And they were walking by and like smacking
That's
them and like
insane.
being
Yeah,
super
like
rude. And then they like, if I wasn't in a position that they liked, people would just walk by and elbow me and push me into the table because they wanted space. Like, this was the rudest convention I've ever been to.
Wow.
People were
crazy.
running, pushing, shoving, so rude. And it shocked me, right? So I kind of had a little bit of a panic attack because people kept touching me without my consent. And like, I understand when I go to a con that even when you initially go day one, you're gonna have a little bit of the people tunnel going in initially for like the vendor hall or the panels, and that's okay. But this was different. There was no security in the vendor hall. It was only at the front entrances and the side entrances. There was no staff present inside the exhibit hall itself, except
And I
for
find that
the
so
help booth, and the
surprising.
help booth was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So
Because it's like a big event, like it's a franchise, so they have like
yes.
fan
So
nights
I
and
don't know if it
everything.
was a one-off and I just happened to get one of those years that wasn't good, but that's the thing you have to be ready for. How are you going to respond if you are made contact with? What are you going to do? Do you have someone with you that can help calm you down and escort you out to a place that's quieter? How are you going to tackle this?
If you have a very big costume, can you enter into these busy spaces? I think that's a big thing a lot of cosplayers either try to ignore or forget. If you're in a big costume, you might not be able to enter the dealer hall. You might have to wait or change into something else just because you take up so much space. Especially in Deedlit, I try to be very conscious of my size. I'm like out to here. I just like clothesline people all the time. So I'm very conscious about like what when I'm in her, like how much space I'm taking up. Because it does suck and things like that happen. Either it's accidental where you're walking through the hall and somebody hits you because you
Yeah,
guys
like
are
it's going to be
peers.
really common that you'll step
But
on someone's train because most people don't realize how much their skirt's going behind them. And
yeah.
sometimes you can't see it. Like, it's always the translucent fabric that I step on because it's just shimmering, and I think it's the floor reflection, but it's not.
Keep in mind your costume size and the locations that you're going to. And if you're just going to a photo shoot or going to hang out in the hallway, hang out with friends, maybe hit a panel, it's probably okay. But if you do plan on the entire con experience, having a secondary costume or a handler to really be there to like get you to be there for you, to help you change, to help you bathroom, to help you get into these spaces.
To help you
might be a good
bathroom.
idea. I've
Yeah,
had
and that's
costumes, I've
important.
needed help.
Yeah, so when I was at FanX, because other cons I've been to, if you have a wingspan over 10 feet, you have to be able to retract it. Like, you are not allowed to walk around with it. Well, this
That's a
Captain
good
America
rule. I
was
mean,
there, and he
10
had
feet is
metal
still a lot.
wings that were 12 feet span and could not
Jeez.
be retracted, right? I almost got hit in the eye with it because I couldn't differentiate his wings from the metal pole that he was next to because the color blended until he turned and almost smacked me in the head with it.
Wow.
And there were a lot of people that were like dodging, and he was in the busiest space because everyone's like, oh, this is so cool. Let's stop here. So that is definitely one thing to be mindful of. That's a case where you might want to check and see if there's a coat check or if there's a storage pod so that you can wear them temporarily and put them away. Or if you're in a place where you feel comfortable storing it in your car, wear it outside. I don't recommend, if you're at a convention that has, in my opinion, more than 10,000 people, do not wear wings or anything that's bigger than really about 3 or 4 feet outside of your body unless you can store them somewhere, because there are going to be times where security might tell you you can't come here.
And like me and Weeru have this problem when talk about this. If you're in a big costume, make sure with your buddy system, like if you want to go see the Dueler Hall, maybe like tap out. Like have a buddy who can sit out in like the main hall area or like with your stuff so you can strip real quick and go get like at least a few minutes in like walking around and being a normal person for a little bit. I try to like schedule those times in. I'm not really a dealer hall person anymore. I used to be. So I used to like really make sure I scheduled my time to see stuff. But now I'll usually just kind of like sneak in between panels and stuff because I'm so busy doing stuff that I don't really get the time to go anyways. But when I do, I either make sure I'm in a very easy to walk in costume or I have a buddy who can watch my stuff while I go in really quick, do a quick look around, and then come back to put stuff back on.
Yeah, and Raul says,
I mean, Jinx and I do that a lot. I mean, I've done that with
Yeah.
you too, Chibi. Like we've all kind of rotated when we try to do something like
Here,
that. Yeah.
hold the baby.
Yeah.
So Raul says, "Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, Thermo. No one should experience that." And that's, you know, that's something that we try to share with our cosplayer safety panel that we've been sharing a lot. But I also do have to note that, like, yes, like you really need to be aware of your costume. I often find myself with like a 2-foot like headpiece. I don't know why. I'm always somehow wearing like 2 feet.
She
of,
likes
like,
to take
things.
people's eyes out.
And I
I've
always
had a
forget.
scratch on my eyebrow from her horns.
So it's good to have like maybe friends or people to be like your border, because I don't know. I think it's because I make it with a magnet and it's so lightweight. Like anytime I wear a headpiece, sometimes I just forget because it just sits there. So often I'm like poking people in the head.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, when I did Yojimbo, there was one doorway that for some reason the hat like just got caught, and I'm like, it's like thankfully it was just foam and I could just tilt it, but I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah.
yeah, I've been pretty
Yeah,
lucky to
doorways.
not lose headpieces. But also talking about going in costume, some people they feel natural in costumes. I think people think that I feel natural in costumes, but I actually always have like a little bit of anxiety every time I'm in a costume, especially if I'm in a wig. So that's another thing to be aware of, especially if you're in new surroundings, like when Sam and I were in Seattle. You know, I have traveled all over the place, so I'm really used to being in like strange places and looking out for my own safety. But in a costume with a prop and like wig and everything, my anxiety levels just creep up a little bit more. And if there's face paint, so that's something to be aware of. Is if you know that you're not 100% comfortable in a costume, surround yourself with people that you trust. Make sure that you know where there's like quiet areas or rest areas. There's space like out there's another 2-foot, like, I don't know, I'm always wearing horns for some reason. I have so many costumes with horns or like bat wings. Have like a way to escape in case you get a panic attack. I've had at times where I'm just like, I gotta go, like this crowd's too much. And also depends on what your costume is. Morgan's quite popular, so I do get a lot of people stopping me for this and that. And sometimes if I'm like, ooh, I gotta go, like my anxiety's up, just make sure you have someone with you who's like, sorry, we gotta get going somewhere, to look out for you. That's my butt, FYI. I'm pretty comfortable showing my butt if you didn't know.
I have one of these, and like you can just order them online.
Nice.
But sometimes, because like, when I do like my big like Pokemon builds or like Twisted Wonderland was also really popular. Sometimes I just was like, I need to eat. I need a bathroom. I'm running to my panel and I only have 5 minutes. Or like I'm actually like genuinely trying to walk around the dealer hall and spend some me time. I have stuff like this, or like I'll have my handler hold something and to just like let people know that I'm off duty right now. I'll take pictures later. That's an etiquette. Like if you don't know this already, please, if a cosplayer is sitting and eating, don't bug them for pictures. You can always go up and tell somebody they look pretty, that you love their costume. You hope to catch them later. But if somebody's eating, if somebody's sitting, if somebody's like obviously half stripped, don't bother them for a picture, because then it becomes this kind of awkward, sorry, not right now, or, oh, can you catch me later? But I recommend, I recommend getting just like even a little thing like this for the moments when you're really overwhelmed and you just like need a me moment, because we're all doing this because we're having fun. And like, yes, it's great taking pictures and like getting to be in the con experience, but sometimes it gets really overwhelming. So I try to keep at least a couple of these in my bag. So like if me and my buddies need a break, we just slap that on and keep walking.
Also remember that like you don't owe anybody anything. if you wore a costume, you wore it for yourself or whatever your reasons are, that's fine. It's okay to say no. It's okay to decline if someone wants to take a picture of you or with you. That's, you know, in your right. We obviously try, like, just to be a general decent human being, like, you know, try and be polite about it. And but you don't owe anybody just because you're their favorite character. Don't feel obligated to take photos if you aren't comfortable with it. I mean, I'm used to it. I love taking photos all the time. Even like if someone came and asked me while I was eating if I could take a photo, I probably would, but that's just me. Again, like as somebody who's seeing the cosplayers, just err on the side of caution and don't bother them that they look like they're resting. But yeah, that's just how I roll. So
Yeah, and like everybody has their own comfort zones, but I usually, my rule of thumb is like if I see somebody resting, it's like they're probably taking a little me time, because conventions can be extremely overwhelming. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of stimulus. Most of us are neurodivergent. So like allowing people their space is always like a good way to go, especially in costume. Like Jinx says, I get a little anxious too. Like it's normal when you're in something big and you're like, you don't want to hit people. You're very conscious about what you're wearing. You're very conscious about the people around you. It, of course, is going to add to that feeling.
and a lot of places now, a lot of cons are offering these quiet rooms and these like rest areas, or like cosplay specific lounges where only cosplayers are allowed in and no photos would be taking. So that's another thing to look at the program of the event that you're going to, is if there's a space like this. I feel like almost every event we went to this year had some sort of quiet room or, you know, like lounge space that was, you know, sometimes like being in the halls are okay, but having those walls around you and just everyone being quiet and just taking some time to yourself, that can really help you reset as well, especially if you're, you know, energy draining and you still want to keep going. So those are always good ideas too.
I also, I have, it's only like this big. I carry, it's like a 2-pound emergency kit. And I do keep cosplay stuff in there. So I always have buttons, glue, cosbon, fishing wire, thread, needles, like the little things that like break off of like your costume that becomes obnoxious. I always try to keep a small kit like that because it's going to happen. Like if something breaks, it's going to be at a convention. So just be prepared. I mean, most cons do have repair stations, so you don't have to have it. But I usually carry mine on me because not all places do. Or we're out doing a photo shoot out in the middle of the garden that's like 30 minutes away. So I will always carry this. But also what I keep in that emergency kit is Band-Aids, snacks, earplugs, and a sensory tool. Something that'll help with sensory, peppermint, like peppermint candies, like a fidget cube, but like things like that I always actually keep within my kit, because I don't know how many times that I've run into a cosplayer who's having like full-on panic attack, or it's like their first time, so they're getting really overwhelmed. Like I being con parent, I'm like, okay, let's go have a seat. So I'll usually take them over, I'll give them the earplugs, I'll give them the fidget cube, and like let them de-stress. But like these are things that I keep on me. So if you're one of those people that do tend to like get overwhelmed by noise or get overwhelmed by too much stimuli, having a plan for the future is a good idea.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We were talking about planning for the future. I was hoping you're going to go that direction because Jinx, I brought up this picture. Jinx's spikes kept falling off. So Jinx was like, you know what I'm going to do instead is Jinx got smart and put Velcro on both sides, like on the backpack and on the spikes, so that if she loses a spike, it's okay. She can just make one real fast again and reattach it. So it's not like
I had extra ones.
Like, yeah. So like you know, you make extras of things. So when you're making your costume too, as you're getting more advanced and you're getting more knowledge with costuming and you're attending conventions, think about little things that, hey, what falls off all the time? Keep some of those in your bag and make sure you have the safety pins or the magnets or the Velcro needed to reattach it. And it's, you know, doing that has been super useful because for me, my big thing is my shoulders, because of the strength of my shoulders, I rip through things quite frequently. Even when I reinforce fabric, I have like, there's just something about the way I rotate my shoulders that I just destroy the side seams of things. And so I almost always have some Cosbond reinforcer and some needle and thread because I can real quick stitch it together and then I can put the reinforcer on the other side and solve the
I
problem.
break jewelry. That's my, like, I will always, whatever the jewelry piece is, it's going to break on me, like, without fail. So I always bring, like, fishing wire instead of thread to, like, restring things, and then extra beads if it's a beaded thing.
Yeah,
like,
I also started bringing extra wig grips because my head is so little that if my wig grip gets too sweaty or warm, it stretches out too much. So then I bring a fresh one and I switch and then I do that because, or I'll bring some wig tape, even though that doesn't, the silicone version of it doesn't work very well on me. So like I have to switch to
another, good thing to
glue.
have in there. Yes, like I always recommend glue remover too. If you're going to put glue or some sort of like sticky stuff.
Cross-Aid has an amazing remover now. You can buy the
Really
kit. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, it works like that.
And makeup remover, and always without fail, no matter what, even if you're a contact wearer outside of conventions, bring your contact case and all of the stuff you need for your eyes, because you're going to have to take your contacts out at some point. If you're at a con for 12 hours, you're going to want to take your contacts out.
That's a really good point. When I did my mantis, like the big mini scleras, so they weren't even full scleras, but the mini scleras you're not supposed to wear for more than 6 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So after 5 hours, I left the convention, went to my hotel, took them out, let my eyes rest for 30 minutes, and then I put them back in and came back.
You were like dedicated.
Yeah, no, I usually just give up and take the contacts out. But another thing I always carry, I always have an extra like empty contact case just in case somebody doesn't be prepared. But like people don't think about that. If you're still new to wearing contacts, your eyes are going to dry out. So make sure you have extra liquid. If you're wearing makeup and you decide to change costumes really quick, having makeup wipes to like quickly. I don't know why I always end up with boys with weird colored hair, but I do. So I always have different colored eyebrows. I will always bring makeup wipes simply to just like take my eyebrows off, so I'm not running around with green eyebrows all day.
I love hearing all these weird things cosplayers come up with. Like, I have to change my eyebrow color. I sat in somebody else's body paint.
Well, so last soccer con, I had three costume changes in a 2-hour period.
Whoa.
I had my Donmei shoe, which I wore Weiwuxi on, and then back to back I had the skate shoes, so I switched into Reki, which is a redhead. So black hair, redhead, and then I had to switch into Reki, which is my normal like eyebrow blonde. So like I literally was like, I have 3 different eyebrows today in the next 2 hours. So I was like,
you should have gone with like eyebrow like tape or stickers, you know.
That would have been so much easier. Like it was such a pain, like because my poor partner had to deal with me like in the corner as a gremlin going like quickly putting my new eyebrows on.
But in my kit, what I find is really important for me, and I guess you've seen my costumes, is like the double-sided like tape. So for like outfits that are, you know, a little showier, I usually keep those with me. My go-to is Loctite super glue. The fast setting, that's great for like quick, you know, repairs. And I also really like Gorilla tape. So, you know, they make Gorilla glue. They also make like a Gorilla duct tape that is like amazing for quick fixes. And those are usually what I keep with me for my emergency.
Yeah, so we've kind of covered like a lot of things. One thing we haven't really talked about is the culture of the location you're going to. If you're not staying at a local con and you're not in an area where you're familiar with your local rules and cultural, you know, kind of that was great. But if you're not familiar with like the local kind of cultural norms, you may want to do some research, talk to people that are there. We've been having discussion with this on the CTL group chat about how some people are like, I don't understand why this person can't wear this. Well, in certain countries, in certain states, you can't wear certain types of outfits where you can't have exposed cleavage. So some of these people will actually buy like the drag queen plates to wear over. So it's not their cleavage exposed, it's silicone, and they don't allow you to put makeup on it. So they have to tell that it's fake, right? And then there's some places where you can't wear bathing suits out in public, and there's some places where certain colors are even forbidden. So make sure you're familiar with the location and its culture that you're going to, and that you're respectful of it. Some events don't let you wear the outfit for more than a certain amount of time at a certain location, and they give you changing rooms for that, whereas others don't mind you wearing it all day long, but you can only wear it in certain parts of the convention center. So that's, again, just making sure you're familiar with not only the convention rules, but the culture that you're going to be stepping into, so that you don't inadvertently offend people.
not to get too political, but this is a very important topic. Recently, the World Cosplay, well, it wasn't the World Cosplay Summit, but a convention happened, and it took place in a location that is not okay with cross-dressing, and the culture itself is very against the LGBTQ plus community. And so it was a very dangerous place to be. And I honestly am shocked of like the people who did choose to go to the convention, because like a lot of them I know personally are like, oh, you guys are cross-dressers, like did you feel safe there? So if you're thinking about going out of the country, or if you are in a country that these kinds of things could be potentially dangerous, make sure you have a plan, make sure you have everything you need to change into normal clothes that day. And really do your research, because like she went as far as like turning off certain messengers, or like not having those on her phone while she was there, because she was scared something might happen to her. And because we talk a lot about gay stuff and BL stuff, and like that's very much part of like our friendship, but the fact was she didn't feel safe having that on her phone while she was gone. And I'm like, that is a red flag, but like it's something to keep in mind that yeah, culture in the different locations are like Japan. As a cosplayer who's been to Japan, like you can't just go and cosplay anywhere you want. Like that's completely frowned upon. You can only cosplay at the convention in certain locations. So like you know your place when you go there and what you need to be prepared for.
Yeah.
And then if you guys have any questions, be sure to post them soon, because we're about to wrap up. We have some announcements to make too. So Jinx, Chibi, any kind of finishing thoughts about what to consider when you're attending a convention in costume?
Remember to have fun. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people get really stressed out about is actually the before the convention, when you're con crunching. Have a contingency plan if you don't finish the costume. If you can just wear it as a casual, can you just get like the wig and makeup done, and then you can wear something cute and casual with it so you can still be the character? Make a plan with your friends. If you can't get it done, maybe you guys can do a different thing. Maybe you can wear something that you already have ready. But try to remember that like the convention is about being fun and like having like being with friends and having fun. And if you don't get the costume done, that's not the end of the world. I've had many times where I've decided to drop costumes before the convention to focus on myself. And like, that's okay. And don't let anyone bully you to say that, oh, well, why didn't you get the costume done? Now you can't join the group, or you ruin the group. Like, no, your health is always the most important thing. So like, have a plan. I always do my wig and makeup, like my wig and like headpieces first. So then if I do want to do the character in just like a casual outfit, I can still wear the character. I'm just not in the full costume. And half the time it's just as fun, if not more fun, because I'll do like a cute Disney shirt or something, like something that'll like get people talking. So just remember, like, con crunch sucks, and that's usually the most stressful part. The convention is meant for fun.
Yeah, and my final thought is like always make sure that you have someone you trust with you. Surround yourself with people that you know, family, friends, especially if it's their first time going in costume or you're new to the area. And just having other people, other eyes out there to see, watch out for you, you watch out for them. That's kind of my thing. I'm always about safety. So be safe, have fun, and be safe.
And for me, I'm just want to recommend always have a backup plan. And always, just figure out what you want to get out of the event. Like, why are you going in costume? What are you trying? What is your goal?
Mhm.
Right? Is it just have fun? Cool. Are you trying to compete? Cool. But just think about what your goal is about going in cosplay, because some people go without any thought whatsoever and don't realize they might be a character people really like, and they get swarmed. So just think about what you're cosplaying, how trendy it is, and what your goals are. Like, because that'll probably help you through the rest of the event. So some updates here. We are going to be streaming again next week. We are going to be streaming on, I believe it's a Wednesday again, or we're doing this is the Friday one. Hang on.
It should be Sunday.
It's a Sunday. Okay, cool. So we're streaming on Sunday, next Sunday, and that is October 15th. And I will be doing a Halloween special effects live demo. So if there's something you specifically want to see, let me know. But I plan on talking about rigid collodion, 2-part silicone putty, airbrushes, brushing, makeup, painting with like water paint, stuff like that. I plan on going through a whole gamut of things. So we'll be doing a demonstration live. After that, we are going to attempt to stream live from PentiCon and UwuCon. I think we can do it, but we'll see what happens.
Guarantee Penty, our internet is crap.
My Verizon towers are pretty good in your area, so it might be good. We'll see what happens. That's why I think we might be able to. Worst case, we may have to lean on the Arizona crew to come up with a different topic. But you know, we can make it happen. We could just send you guys bunches of pictures and make something happen.
We'll do something, or we can do like a like a Uwu prep. So obviously, if you guys didn't know that Sam and I are on the staff for UwuCon. And so we are also preparing for that. I think Sam is a little crazy for going out of the country a week before, but hey,
my stuff's all done.
Live your best life. So
that's because I started working really far in advance and I got all of my stuff done except for the website updates. I'll get there. But we wanted to talk about we're going to be having a screening that's going to happen the day before Uwu starts. So we've officially worked with the distributors of Cosplay Universe, and we've officially acquired a screener for Cosplay Universe.
Yay!
And we are going to be providing updates. I'm hoping to get it out this weekend. We're just needing to work out with logistics with Uwu just to make sure we have timing complete. But we are going to be offering tickets to the screening. It's going to be very inexpensive, like just basically helping reserve your spot. Yeah,
we want as many people as possible come.
We want as many people to come, and we're just trying to recuperate the cost of paying for the screener itself because we had to pay the distributor to make this happen. So it is Cosplay Universe. We're going to have special treat with we're working with the producer, and he's working with some of the guests that were on this Cosplay Universe, and they're going to be present on a live stream after the screening. And then we're also going to do a fashion show where people can sign up and do kind of like I think the theme was the universe, right? The universe, yeah. So the theme is universe, where you create like a costume, or you take a cosplay, you put together something that is inspired by the universe, like stars and whatever. That's the universe
pretty
is.
Much it. Like the prompt is universe, so take it how you will.
Yep.
There's no rule that this is or is not universe.
So Jinx and I are gonna, I think, I'll have downtime with Yuma. It's not very long, so I'll bring my computer with me, but there will be some times.
I literally noped out of the con this weekend because I'm like, I'm not doing con 3 weekends in a row. I am noping out.
It's a small one, and they're really sweet. If you guys haven't ever been to YumaCon before, it's a very small convention in Yuma, Arizona. It's run by the government itself. They pay for everything just so that everybody gets to have a little taste of Comic-Con out in Yuma, because it's agricultural country, and a lot of these people don't have the means to make it into the larger cities for the larger cons. So I really like what they're providing there.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll make it there next year. So, but yeah, I think also they're still announcing a bunch of cool guests for UwuCon. So if you don't follow Uwu, UwuCon AZ, I think is the Insta. And I've been working hard on some stuff too, which will be really exciting. We're gonna have a whole I don't even know how. Sam, you say, because I can't.
We're going to have a cosplay festival inside Field House A that's associated with the panels event stage, Arizona photo meetups, cosplay guests, performances, and workshops.
And lots of other fun stuff.
And I get to be there.
Yes!
So I'm excited. I get to be there.
Keep an eye on the UwuCon website. There is an area called schedules. We have been slowly but surely, I've been slowly but surely adding scheduling information into there. And then once the UwuCon makes their maps live through Eventini, you'll be able to look at the maps on the Eventini app, which is the main app that they're using for managing the event. It's where you bought your tickets, and it's where you probably are looking at any updates for guests and other things as well. So please keep an eye on the site. I'm about to add a whole bunch of cosplay VIPs and guests that I was given information for. Just as a heads up and a reminder, we are not in charge of the individual guests themselves. That is a different procedure this year. But we are in charge of the groups and the cosplay contest and the organization of Field House A. So we're working with a lot of local groups to try and help uplift the community and share with all the people that we know and love.
Yeah, so if you guys weren't aware, there's 2 halls, and then there's the atrium with the food festival. So Fieldhouse A is going to be primarily where like the panels and presentations are. There's gaming, and there's also the cosplay festival. And then Fieldhouse B is your traditional vendor hall, exhibition hall.
Vendor Hall Artist Alliance, where the celebrity stage will be.
Yes, and where the cosplay guests will be stationed as well. So yeah, thanks for your support, guys, and we should see you there, right?
Yeah, we'll see you guys there. So we'll see you next week, Sunday, October 15th, with creepy makeup.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody.